Hello folks, welcome back to Wine with Me. Today I'm actually just going to make my gluten-free beer. So I'll actually give you the recipe that I follow. I've been making it for numerous years. So I've got 15 quarts of water starting to boil. I've got containers of honey, one 2.2 pound container of honey, and two 2.2 pound containers of sorghum in the sink, warming up so they're very viscous. So while this is warming up, we're going to be adding the limes. So I have 7 limes that I've already diced up into slices. They're going to be going into the pot right away. I've actually got in this bowl one Whirfloc. It helps to take out all the undissolved solids in the beer as it's fermenting. I've got 2.2 teaspoons of Yeast Nutrient and 2.5 teaspoons of Yeast Energizer as well. So that'll be going into the pot. Then in these socks here, I've got an ounce of hops in each. So once this starts to boil, about 30 minutes, well, as soon as it starts to boil, I'll be adding the sorghum. I'll be adding the honey, all of it, all at once, and I'll stir it intermittently. So once this is actually boiling, I'll be adding one ounce sock of yeast or hops for about 25 minutes, and then for the remaining 5 minutes I'll add the second 1 ounce sock of hops. So the first hop is for the flavor and the second hops is for the aroma. I played with this for many years trying to figure out a recipe that tastes good for my palate. So that's actually what I've come to a conclusion is those times for the hops work best for me. And the limes kind of add a bit more flavor to it. The gluten-free beer that I buy in the store, I find it's sour and just not great tasting. I found that adding limes actually makes it taste far better, and as well with the honey as well. It takes longer to brew with the honey, being a honey lager, but the flavor is far better and far superior to anything that I've found in the stores to this day. That's just the dog coughing. So what I'll do is I'll get all this done, and then I'll get it into my sanitized primary fermenter. It's a 50 liter. And I'll actually take a Brix reading for you so we can see what the potential alcohol content will be when this is finally made. And before I actually put this into the primary, I'll fill it with a bunch of ice as well. And I've already pre-marked my primaries as well with lines to where to fill the water to, so it actually fills the carboy after it's been in the primary for 1 week. And the honey that I actually use is locally sourced here in Manitoba from Ohana Honey Farms. So their contact is here, and I'll actually put it in the description below as well. I found that it's a great honey. I use it for everything actually, and I'm not getting paid to do this either. It's just a really great product, and it's reasonably priced. And they actually have quite a selection of products as well. So I definitely recommend checking them out. We just brought it up to a simmer. Once it reached a simmer, I added the 2.2 pounds of honey and the 4.4 pounds of sorghum. So now we need to bring it back up to a simmer. Once it simmers, we'll add the first pouch of hops. Alright, so it's finally boiling. So now we'll add in our first sock of hops. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Add in the second hops for the last 5 minutes. Remove the hops. Add it into the primary fermenter full of ice. Alright folks, it's been 20 minutes. So now we're going to add in the last ounce of hops for the remaining 5 minutes. Okay. Now the timer's over. It's been 25 minutes total. So we're going to take these out. Take out the hops. And put it in our primary with the ice in it. And top it off with ice cold water. Now that we have our primary filled up to our line, it's still too hot. Not sure if you can see it, but it's above 34 degrees. So we're going to have to wait for it to come down. What I often do is just give it a day before I pitch the yeast. So in one day we'll pitch the yeast, just sprinkle it on top. And after 7 days we'll be able to put it into our primary. But the problem here is you need to keep inspecting this every day to see if the fermentation is actually taking place. The reason being is the honey is actually fighting the yeast. So sometimes it needs a second package of yeast to get the fermentation going. Because the Yeast Nutrient and Energizer can only take it so far. So when we pitch the yeast tomorrow, we'll check the temperature then. Alrighty, so I just took a brick sample. Let's see if you can actually see it or not. There we go. Oops. Almost had it. There we go. So it's about 5, 6, 7 bricks. So if we look that up, it'll tell us approximately what the alcohol percentage will be. And I can do that for you and let you know what that approximately is. Alright, so at 7 bricks, it's about 3.6%. I added 2 cups of dextrose and mixed it up thoroughly, and it came out to 12 bricks, which is about 6.5%. I think all I needed to do was mix it up and it would have probably been higher. So I just learned something new. So I thought that was pretty low from drinking this beer in the past. So, but you know, 6.5% isn't so bad. So we'll just leave it at that with 2 cups of dextrose in it extra to bring it up to that 12 bricks. So it's been 1 day. So now we're going to pitch the yeast and then tuck it up underneath this workbench of mine for about 7 days, and then we'll transfer it to the carboy. Just sprinkle it on top. Snap the lid back down, and we'll see it in 7 days. Okay, it's been 8 days since we started our beer. So now we're going to transfer it to the carboy. I did check on it, and it is bubbling after the 2nd day. So I didn't have to pitch another round of yeast from the honey. So now we're going to be transferring it to the carboy. There's different types of siphons. I use stainless steel with food grade vinyl. And then I just do the old-fashioned priming method of sucking on the end. I do have a self-priming one as well. I'm just not a big fan of it. So let's get started here. So we've got an active batch of beer here. So I can hear that it's active. You can see the bubbles coming up. So we'll get this started. So I've already sanitized everything with sodium metabisulfite. That's what I prefer to use. There's different ones out there, it doesn't matter. They all work the same basically. Unless you ask a chemist, I'm sure they have different reasoning. And then for my units here, the airlocks, put sodium metabisulfite in there, and I pre-sanitize everything before I get started as well. Oops. Put that back there. All right, let's siphon. All right, so I actually have the end at the opposite end of the carboy itself, and then once it gets closer to the bottom, if this guy's not full, the carboy itself, I'll actually pivot this up to get more flute liquid in the back, so I can siphon off even more. I just use this setup here for siphoning off. You can see I have a lot of stuff on the go here. I have another batch of beer here. Merlot. I've been playing with kits since I was for like 20 years now. And also I've got my other stuff from the channel on the go there as well. So I'm just going to bend it off to get it where I want it to stop the siphoning process. There we go. We're just going to shift this over a bit. Prop this guy up as best as possible. So it's down in the far corner to the back, the actual siphon. So we'll pull up as much as we can here. We can get the bung back into this guy, or the airlock. I like to label all these because I have multiple batches of everything on the go at any given time. So I mark what this is, so I never mix them up. So this guy's actually gummed up a bit. I'll actually take this guy out. And I'll just top it off with some water. And then when I rack, mix them all together. And this one is guaranteed to have a lot more sediment in it when I rack it the next time. I've actually got a heater running in here as well to keep the temperature right where I want it. So it's always running about 20 to 22 degrees Celsius in here. So you don't have to worry about this being too watered down because, like I said, when we rack, these two get combined in the bucket, and then we'll clean these guys out, make sure there's no sediment in the bottom, then rack it all back together, and then it'll be mixed up, And depending how much sediment is in this, we may have to let it sit out again, but we'll find out when we get to that step.